Episode 155. This week we'll talk about kindness. Would this dog think that I'm being kind? Would this dog think that we're doing what's best for the dog? We may think that we're doing what's best, but what does this dog think? We may think that we're not being mean, that we're not doing anything scary, or we're not adding to a dog's frustration. But are we being kind? And how can this question change our point of view? Find out this week. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Neumeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a grooming instructor at Whole Pet Grooming Academy, where I also teach my online program, Master Groomer Behavior Specialist, and I'm the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. Let's talk about kindness. Oh, have I just become too wishy-washy? Did we just totally depart from any sort of science into the world of touchy-feely? Maybe. Perhaps. I'm gonna ask that you just stick around here and hear me out. There is a reason for choosing the word kindness, and it has to do with how we as humans view our own actions. And this is another lens to look at the world through. So, as groomers, we tend to become very task-oriented. If you've been listening to the podcast for a while, you're probably aware of this. And you try to bring your attention back to the experience the dog is having. You know, you're looking for things like, is this dog calm, comfortable, and cooperative? And it's not easy. I'm going to say it's not easy. For some of you, you may find it really easy, but for me, I still catch myself losing focus on the dog's experience. Because I'm thinking about the groom, I'm thinking about the trim, I'm thinking about the coat, I'm thinking about the skin, and maybe not always what that dog's brain is doing. And that may surprise you, but I'm going to own that. If I get lost in the zone, fluff drying or scissoring or giving a bath, sometimes I'm not thinking about the experience the dog is having and the dog's point of view or thinking about the dog directly in front of me. There's more to a haircut, the dog's experience. And sometimes we lose focus because we're thinking about a haircut that needs to be done in 20 minutes. And it can be difficult to remember to circle back and check. Is this dog having a good experience? Is this dog calm, comfortable, and cooperative? Now, I want you to think too, it's more than just, is this dog giving me any resistance or making it difficult to finish my job? Resistance or lack of resistance does not necessarily mean calm, comfortable, and cooperative. Part of why I word it as calm, comfortable, and cooperative is it's easier for us to spot that instead of fear, anxiety, and stress. Now, Fear Free talks about the FAS, fear, anxiety, and stress, and that's really important to know. However, I think that for most people, if we ask them, does this dog seem scared? We're going to get a variety of answers. And I think it has to do more with our level of experience. Does this dog seem scared? No, not too scared. What is too scared? Well, that's really subjective, isn't it? Does this dog seem anxious? No, maybe. Or often I hear the opposite, which is like every dog that makes a whining noise or a bark seems anxious. And a lot of those are not anxiety. And then stress. Does this dog seem stressed? No, I think he's just being a jerk. But if we ask instead, is this dog being calm, comfortable, and cooperative? Well, that's very different because people might say, he doesn't seem scared. Does he seem calm? Oh, no, I would not say he seems calm. And the same is true, I think, with our own actions. If I said, are you scaring this dog, frustrating this dog, being too rough? You would say no, right? Because we're groomers and we love dogs and that's why we do it. We're not thinking that we're being too rough. But if I say, are you being kind? Would this dog say, she's really nice to me, but she does weird things, That's really kind of my goal. I want the dogs to feel like she likes me. She really, really likes me. I don't know why she does all the weird stuff with all these weird tools, but she likes me, Are we being kind? And that's very different than are we being scary, or are we stressing them out, or are we being a little overbearing, heavy-handed? Most of us would say no. It's interesting, isn't it? Now, when I talk about kindness, let's also talk about when we're interacting with other humans. Because there are times where you may be thinking, well, I have to tell it to them straight. Like that's how someone's going to learn. But when you were doing that, you might not have thought you were being mean unless someone points out, were you being kind? Like, were you saying something like, my God, buy a comb? What the heck? Like, or did you say, I really think that you might find that using a comb in this situation and combing it this way or that way would be more instructive and kind. We don't necessarily understand when we're being pushy, and that could be with our owners, it could be with the dogs, it could be with each other. But we don't necessarily notice it if it's like, well, don't be mean. I'm not being mean, I'm being straightforward. But are you being kind? And I think that that's a nice way to frame it out. Am I being kind? In this moment, am I being kind? It doesn't mean you have to be a doormat, but it's a way to kind of view the world differently. Now, let me give you another example. The anti-bullying message that they're sending to kids. All right, this is going to feel like it's off topic, but just bear with me. That anti-bullying message. If you ask most kids, were you being a bully? They'd say no. Were you laughing at that kid who fell down? Well, yeah, but it was funny and everyone was laughing. But were you being a bully? No, it was funny. Everyone was laughing. I was just laughing too. But if you ask instead, were you being kind? That's a different question. And kids of different ages will answer differently. Was I being kind? Is that the way I would like to be treated? Oh gosh, now we're really getting wishy-washy, aren't we, Chrissy? Right? So I'm supposed to look at these dogs and think, is that the way I want to be treated? To some extent, yeah. Yeah. I want you to open your mind to the idea that you're trying to relate to how this animal is experiencing this moment and what you can do to be helping them. Because ultimately, calm, comfortable, and cooperative is about helping the dogs learn that this is safe so that they have a lifetime of feeling like this is safe and easy and not a big deal. And even if there is something that they find particularly challenging, if they're calm, comfortable, and cooperative, we can have a lifetime of doing this successfully. How cool is that? So I want you to be thinking about kindness. I know, it sounds so wishy-washy, doesn't it? And then at the same time, it makes such sense. So, what is this dog experiencing right now? Is this dog really scared? Is this dog having a good time? Ask yourself. Now, here's the other loophole that I find we as groomers get into, and you might find yourself in here. I find myself in here too. The idea that I am doing a kindness by grooming this dog. I'm doing this for his health. I'm doing this for her health. I'm doing this so that this dog doesn't have mats, so this dog doesn't have skin problems. These toenails need to be done so that this dog doesn't have problems with walking. Like we are part of healthcare. But let's circle back because I want you to think too, we are part of the healthcare process, but we are not emergency medicine. There's a point where it's okay for us to step back and say, this didn't happen in the last hour, and I don't need to fix it in this next hour. If this dog is having a hard time, if this dog is fearful, anxious, stressed, that's the FAS scale if you're familiar with fear-free. Is this dog not calm, comfortable, and cooperative? Right? Is this dog panting? Is this dog shaking? Is this dog trying to growl at us, trying to do things to ask us to go away and give them space? We've blocked their ability to run away from us, but is he still trying to push away and get away from us on the table? Those are all signs that this dog is not having a good time and that we can circle back and say, is it the kindest thing to do right now to get that mat off of his lip? Or can I help him calm down? And I think that many, many times we start thinking it's a kindness. I've got to get these nails done. You know what? These owners aren't going to come in again. These owners aren't going to follow through. And that's part of talking to owners. But I don't need to be part of doing things that I think are unkind and that in the long run are going to cause me more problems. So when we talk about kindness, that helps us kind of reframe it. Our interaction with the dog, the brain, what's happening in Fluffy's head, right? This is more than just a Bichon. This is more than just a female dog. This is more than just an 8-year-old dog, right? This dog's name is Fluffy, and she has a whole variety of thoughts and feelings. And I want to help her be good for this for the rest of her life. And that's probably not going to happen if I push her past what she can handle and just continue because I want her nails done and I want them done really short. Um, Now, I know that many of us, like I said, are in this mindset that I've got to get this done. I can't let you go home with this mat hanging off of the side of your face. But if a dog is really scared, we need to address the fear. We need to address that. That's the kindest thing to do. That's kind. Doesn't necessarily mean that the dog is going to go home with the mat hanging off his face, but we have to circle back and address that fear before we continue, right? Make it part of the way that we continue. Make it part of the way that we progress. Each time that we have a dog in front of us, in our hands, on our grooming table, in our grooming tub, in crates, each time we are interacting with one of these dogs, I want you to imagine that you are planting the seed for the future grooming. Think about the future groomings, all of those future groomings. What kind of experience are we giving so that that dog can feel better in the future? And that is really going to make progress faster. And in the next part, we're going to talk a little bit about how if we don't do that, it can make progress stall or end and maybe never make progress. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes and tell all of your friends. So, what happens if our view of kindness is getting the job done? Like at all costs, getting it done until the dog is so out of control that we physically have a problem on our side of getting it done. And that happens a lot. And I want you to kind of think about that. That's really, really common. Okay. And I think that it happens more often than most groomers would like to admit. But that's when we're working on a dog and the dog is flailing around and maybe we're talking sweet to the dog and we're like, "Hey, it's okay, sweetie. It's all right. Everything's going to be fine." And then we add more straps and we add a muzzle and and we put him on a contraption and we add more people and we're like, "It's okay. It's all right. Oh, he's too stressed to take cookies. It's all right. It's all right." And this is so common. But I ask you, step back for a moment. Is it kind? Is it kind? Are we thinking about this dog's emotional state right now, or are we just trying to get the job done and hope that this dog is going to learn that it didn't hurt? The problem is that physical pain isn't what this dog is thinking is scary most of the time. Most of the time, it's the amount of straps. It's the fact that they're trying to get away and they're being forced. We don't have to force dogs through grooming like that. We can literally teach them to just be good for it. And I think that sometimes in the grooming industry, in the training industry, there are a lot of times where we learn from someone who learned from someone who learned from someone, so even though you're learning right now, you might not be learning the most up-to-date versions. But let me tell you, there are ways to teach dogs to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative. And every dog's going to be a little bit different. But if we push through that, we are literally teaching them to hate grooming. And that's why you see so many people saying, "Well, you know what? And now he's reached a point where I just can't get it done anymore. I don't know how this happened. It's time to send him to the vet for grooming," which is a beautiful, beautiful myth and a dream. So, all right, let's cover that. So first of all, if you're at a point where like, you know what, he always used to let me get it done and now he's just not, we can still backtrack and try to think about this dog's experience and trying to be kind, trying to help this dog be calm, comfortable, and cooperative for whatever future they still have. And I say that as someone who often meets elderly dogs with severe health problems who were told to go to the vet now for vet grooming. And I have to kind of reestablish that, like, listen, grooming doesn't hurt. Let me help you through it. And let's do modified grooming sessions until we can get you to a point where you can handle this. They can definitely, definitely learn to be better. Maybe not perfect, but a healthy dog can learn to be a safe dog. And I think that modern dog training has proved that again and again. So think for a moment, am I being kind? And am I helping this dog be better for future groomings? Because if they're comfortable with it and they don't think it's scary, they will let you continue to groom them their whole life. If they don't think it's scary, they will let you groom them when they're blind, when they're deaf, when they have hip problems, when they've had back surgery. They will let you do it. If they don't think it's scary, they will continue to allow us to do the things that we want them to be able to do for their lifetime. And then we can achieve the health goals that we're looking for through grooming. So we can get the mats out and we can get the sani done and we can get their nails down short and all those other things that we think are, part of our job and part of healthcare. So the myth of I'm going to send you to the vet now for veterinary grooming. Now there are groomers who work at vets and, because the veterinarian is there, there's access to different medications that they could use. But, and here's the thing that makes it a beautiful, beautiful fantasy. I need you all to think about this. There is no veterinarian that is going to sedate a dog as if for surgery every 4 to 6 weeks for a grooming. That's irresponsible. That's not going to happen. So if this dog has reached a point where you physically cannot control it and force the grooming on it anymore, that's what the vet is left with. Either they are also now at the same point that you were at, trying to get it done, or they have to sedate this dog as if for surgery to get the trimming done, to get the nails done, to get whatever it was done. And that's just not going to happen every 4 to 6 weeks. So thinking back to kindness, thinking back to kindness, if we're forcing them through grooming, and we're making this process worse and worse and worse, the kindness would be to help them through it, to backtrack, no matter what age they're at, no matter what stage they're at, and say, you know what, let's try something different. Let me see if I can help you be comfortable for this. Because there is no magical, I send you to the vet now and everything's going to be great and groovy. It doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. So let's get that out of out of our heads. It's not going to happen. Now, sometimes a different grooming setup might be easier for a dog. So if a dog has been having some issues for health and now maybe they were always good and now they're having some issues, it might be that you send them to somebody different. For example, as a house call groomer, if I have one dog at that house, I'm start to finish on that dog. If that dog is elderly and can't handle that anymore, I might send them to a groomer in a shop who can do this in 15-minute increments and give that dog 1,000 naps throughout the day that I can't do because no one's going to pay me to sit down and have a coffee break at their house. It may be that in a grooming shop, you say, you know what, I think that your dog is overwhelmed by all of the things going on here. Perhaps a different format like a van or a house call groomer might be calmer for your dog. So it's not about, just continuing in whatever way you were doing before, but think about what does this dog need to feel more comfortable, to help them be calm, and to also build toward getting the job done. Now, sometimes I think we think calm, comfortable, and cooperative, and we're like, oh, yeah, that sounds really nice. But the dogs who are easy to groom, the dogs who are a joy to groom, the dogs who you can sit down and just let your creative juices flow and get a beautiful trim, and they're standing beautifully, and you can adjust them so that they're standing properly and straight. Those dogs happen to be calm, comfortable, and cooperative. That's why I define it as a goal. This is the goal that we're setting. I want them to have that so that I can do my best job, so that I can do my best work on this particular dog. Maybe it's always the owner that wants like the 7 blades short all over, but I can still do one that looks super plush, super pretty on a dog that used to have issues if I can help them be calm. So it's easier for us to spot if we're being kind than if we are being mean or stressful or overbearing or, because we're like, no, I just got to get this done. Oh my God, This is what dog grooming is, and I've heard that before. But I invite you to think about it this way. If I want this dog to be good for their entire lifetime, then I'm going to work toward the goal of the dog who looks great while they're grooming. And that is calm, comfortable, and cooperative. That's not the dog who lets you put on every strap and every contraption and allows 4 people to hold them still and doesn't bite while they do it. Not biting isn't a good enough goal for me. Not biting, barely passing at a C. Like, great, you're not biting, but that doesn't mean that they're calm, comfortable, and cooperative. If you have to use like every tool under the sun to get this dog's nails done safely, that's a worry for me. So let's backtrack again and think about kindness and the dog's point of view. The dog's point of view is important because we are grooming dogs. We're not grooming owners, we're grooming dogs, and their point of view matters. So does this dog think that I'm being kind? Does this dog feel like I'm doing something that's safe? Does this dog feel like they can cooperate with me? And cooperation means I give in too, right? Cooperation takes 2. If this dog tells me I'm a little bit nervous, do they trust that I'm going to back off a moment and see if they're sore, help them readjust, try it a different way? And that sometimes comes off as wishy-washy too. You know what though? The fact of the matter is that if I can get them to cooperate with me, then that's a win. That's a win. If some dog does not like grinding and they only like nail clipping, fine, I'll do nail clipping. I don't really care. Do they want their nails done by stretching their front foot in front of them, or do they want their nails done from underneath? If a dog has a strong opinion, I will cooperate with them, right? As long as we're learning that this is safe, that this is calm, and they can be comfortable, and we're working toward the goal of a dog who's great for grooming. Because grooming dogs aren't just, born that way. We create them. We create great grooming dogs through repetition and through kindness and through training. And you might not think that that's training, because I think a lot of people think dog training is obedience classes where we do sit, stay, and down, and stand, and we walk on leash. Dog training is every single time we're teaching a dog about something. All of our interactions are dog training. So if we have a dog on the grooming table and we're thinking, okay, let's calm down. How can I help you be calm? How can I help you feel comfortable with what we're doing? And how can I cooperate and help you cooperate with me? What would this dog think right now? Does this dog think I'm being kind? Does this dog think that I'm really, really scary? Adding straps, all that other jazz, that comes off as very, very scary. There are times where a dog might find that comforting, but you have to look at that individual dog and what they are experiencing. What they are experiencing is what makes the dogs that are really hard to groom. We create our own grooming problems. Most dogs have no frame of reference for grooming until they meet us. So if we're forcing them through, we actually create more problems than we're solving. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you. If you're ready to go beyond the podcast, and I hope you do, I've made it really easy for you. If you go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step, you'll see all of the options. There's the Scholar Lounge community, there's the Modern Grooming Professional certification, there's Master Canine Stylist and Professional Canine Stylist diploma testings, there's the Behavior Lab for coaching and private one-on-one sessions with me, and of course, the Master Groomer Behavior Specialist program. So go to creatinggreatgroomingdogs.com and click on your next step.